Welcome to Engedrian. If this is your first time listening, or even if you are returning, be sure to follow us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for additional content, battle maps, and background details. We hope you are enjoying our adventure. Let's see what happens next. Before Sister has returned to the room, the party prepares to burst into the room and destroy Varkidar before he can escape. Malaysia quickly removes his necklace of fireballs from his bag and attaches it to his belt. He hands the bag of beans to Gelid, his homunculus, after removing one bean and returning it to his storage chest. Fodinis removes the iron bands of Bolaro from his bag and hooks it to his belt. Case, Inicel, and Umgurn drink their potions of giant strength. Theophania drinks a potion of healing. When everyone is prepared, which takes less than a minute, Fodinis places his hand on the door and nods to the group. He throws open the door and the party charges in. The party roll a stealth check versus Varkidar's perception check. Roll 24, 13, 24, 15, 10, 12, and 20 versus 17. Fodinis and Case get a surprise round before initiative. Fodinis moves into melee with Varkidar, 40 feet, attacks with short sword twice, assassinate, sneak, surprise, rolls 28 critical for 10 slashing damage, 13 surprise damage, and 16 sneak attack damage, 39 total, rolls 18 for a miss. Fodinis uses his surprise advantage to rush to Varkidar and thrust his short sword into the Mind Flayer's side deeply. He attempts to stab the creature a second time, but it turns quickly and avoids a second hit. The Mind Flayer screeches his alien warbling tone, and his tentacles undulate madly. Case moves within 20 feet of Varkidar, attacks Varkidar with spear advantage, activates Dancing Longsword, attacks Varkidar, rolls 24 for 10 piercing damage, rolls 28 for 11 slashing damage, 21 total damage. Case moves closer to Varkidar, but not within striking distance of the demon's tentacles, and hurls his spear at the creature, striking him in the chest. He tosses his longsword into the air, and it streaks towards the Mind Flayer, cutting deeply into his back. Varkidar lets out another warbling scream, and the thralls drop what they are doing and turn towards the party. The Kalia imposter turns from the portal, smirks at the party, and draws 2 longswords from his belt. Everyone rolls for initiative. Fodinis moves into melee with the unknown fighting Mind Mage, still in melee with Varkidar. Makes 1 short sword attack against the fighting Mind Mage, assassinate, sneak, surprise. Makes 1 short sword attack against Varkidar. Moves 35 feet away, no attack of opportunity. Rolls 25 auto crit versus AC 16 for 16 piercing damage, 23 surprise attack damage, and 20 sneak attack damage, 59 total. Rolls 16 versus AC 20 for a miss. Fodinis, seeing the chance to possibly remove the imposter from battle, quickly slides around Varkidar and stabs at the humanoid with his short sword, running him through the gut deeply. Fodinis stabs at Varkidar with his offhand blade, but the Mind Flayer knocks the blade away with his tentacles. Fodinis dashes away from both of them back towards the party, ending next to Case. Malaysia uses 6 beads of the Necklace of Fireball, targets Varkidar, DC 15 Dex saving throw, rolls 54 fire damage. Saving throws for Varkidar, Unknown Fighting Mind Mage, and Thrall B are 13 plus 7, Dark One's Own Luck, 6, and 6. Malaysia pulls the necklace from his belt and snags 6 of the beads, leaving 1 behind. He tosses the beads towards Varkidar, and the Mind Flayer erupts in a ball of flames that engulf the imposter and one of the thralls. When the fiery ball vanishes, Varkidar remains, but the imposter lies charred and unmoving. One of the thrall is badly burned, but alive. Varkidar uses his reaction to cast Hellish Rebuke at Malaysia, DC 20 Dex save, rolls 26 fire damage. Malaysia rolls 20 saves for 7 damage, resistance. Varkidar, seeing 2 of his comrades fall, points a finger at Malaysia and flames erupt around the little Genasi. Malaysia laughs and dances a little in the warm embrace, only slightly singed by the attack. Varkidar screams again at misjudging the small fire creature. 3 more thralls, drawn by the eruption of flames into the other dimension, rush into the room and join the battle. Varkidar uses 1 legendary action, casts Misty Step. Varkidar is suddenly engulfed in a silvery mist and vanishes on the spot, reappearing inside the portal in the other room. Case moves the Dancing Longsword to Thrall B, attacks once. throws spear at Thrall D, moves into melee with Thrall D, unarmed punch. Rolls 17 versus AC 17 for a hit for 8 slashing damage, rolls 20 for a hit for 13 piercing damage, and rolls 26 for 9 bludgeoning damage. Case growls loudly as Varkidar vanishes. He sends his longsword to the burned Thrall and slashes it across the throat, dropping it instantly. He hurls his spear at the closest Thrall and runs toward it as the spear pierces the creature's chest and follows it with a solid punch to the face. Umgurn moves 30 feet towards Thrall A and E, 10 feet away from them. Casts Thunderous Smite, bonus action. Readies main action, attack if someone comes into melee. Umgurn moves quickly to the upper Thralls and brandishes his scimitar, waiting for their approach. He murmurs a few words and charges his scimitar with thunderous power. Peace moves into melee with Thrall A, makes 2 claw attacks and 2 Fury of Blows, 1 key point, gains +2 to armor class, Kinsei. Rolls 16 for a miss, 27 critical, 11 for a miss, and 26 for a hit, for 12 slashing damage and 6 bludgeoning damage, 18 total. Peace follows Umgurn, but, being faster, makes it to the Thrall near the northwest door and slashes at him twice with their claws, followed by 2 solid punches, landing 1 of each. Theophania casts Hail of Thorns, attacks Thrall G with Longbow twice, attacks Thrall C with Longbow twice, Wordbreaker. Rolls 18 and 24 for 2 hits of 19 piercing damage. Dex saves are 3 and 7, 2 fails, for 6 piercing damage from Thorns. Rolls 18 and 20 for 2 hits for 16 piercing damage. Theophania grasps her bow tightly and squeezes, causing the notched arrow to illuminate with green thorns. She fires the arrow at the southwestern Thrall and catches it in the chest. A shower of thorns erupts from the arrow and tears through the Thrall and the one next to him. She releases another arrow at the second Thrall, burying it in his stomach. She fires 2 more arrows, 1 at each, and plants them in a shoulder and a thigh. Thrall A makes 2 longsword attacks against Peace, rolls 19 and 23 versus AC 20 plus 2 for 1 hit for 12 slashing damage and 9 psychic damage, 21 total. The Thrall that Peace punched and slashed draws forth a humming longsword and swings quickly at the feline, missing with the first swing, but slashing the cat in the side with the second. Peace feels the sting of the blade, but also feels an explosion of pain in his head. Peace screams.
The Thrall are channeling the Mind Flayer's psychic energy.
Thrall C moves into melee with Case, makes 2 longsword attacks against Case, rolls 27 and 28 versus AC 19 for 2 hits of 21 slashing damage and 15 psychic damage, 36 total. With Theophania's arrows protruding from it, the Thrall moves close to Case and slashes at him twice with its longsword, both blows landing on each of his sides. As with Peace, the sting of the blade hurts, but the eruption of pain in his head is horrific. Case screams,
"Don't let them hit you with those blades!"
Thrall D makes 2 longsword attacks against Case, rolls 21 and 18 versus AC 19 for 1 hit of 11 slashing damage and 11 psychic damage, 22 total. The first Thrall that Case engaged also slashes at him with a longsword twice, but only 1 blow lands on his thigh. Case seems barely able to stand. Varkidar consumes Brain, regains legendary actions ×3, doubles his hit points from 30 to 60. Varkidar, through the portal, grabs a Thrall walking towards him with its arms open for an embrace, rips open its head, and consumes its brain. His skin seems to glisten and he flexes his arms. Inacel moves into melee with Thrall C, casts Healing Word 3rd level on Case, attacks Thrall C with Scimitar, rolls 10 hit points for Case, rolls 26 versus AC 17 for a hit for 9 slashing damage and 8 radiant damage. Inacel charges into combat with her scimitar raised high. She flanks Case and murmurs a few words, which reinvigorates him with healing. She brings her scimitar, glowing brightly, down on the closest Thrall, slicing into its chest. Thrall E moves into melee with Umgurn. Umgurn attacks with scimitar, rolls 31 critical for 22 slashing damage and 10 thunder damage. Strength saving throw of 12, DC 14, is pushed 10 feet back and prone. The Thrall closest to Umgurn, fighting Peace, charges towards him with its longsword drawn. Umgurn slashes upward with his own scimitar, cutting deeply into the creature's chest. As the thunderous holy energy explodes, the Thrall is pushed 10 feet away from Umgurn and falls prone to the floor. The thrall begins trying to stand up.
Thrall F moves back through the portal and disappears from sight. Legendary actions 2. Varkidar consumes brain. Doubles his hit points from 60 to 117. Full health.
The thrall that vanished through the portal rushes towards Varkidar with open arms, and the Mind Flayer again consumes its brain. The demon seems to glow with power.
Thrall G moves into melee with Case, makes 2 longsword attacks, rolls 13 and 10 critical fail for 2 misses, rolls 27 on D100 critical fail, loses balance and falls prone.
The last southwest thrall charges towards Case with its longsword raised high. It swings the blade down hard, but Case stumbles backwards and the blade clangs off the stone tile floor. The thrall brings the blade back up, but is off balance, falling backwards and landing on the ground.
Fodinis moves into melee with Thrall C, makes a short sword attack, sneak, moves behind Thrall G, attacks with short sword, rolls 19 versus AC 17 for 11 piercing and 7 sneak attack damage, 18 total, rolls 28 for a hit for 4 piercing damage.
Fodinis moves closer to the thrall's attacking Case and stabs one quickly through the heart, dropping it. He steps over it and slashes a second thrall across the back.
Malage casts Firebolt at Thrall E, uses Flame Blade, moves next to Umgurn, rolls 24 for a hit for 9 fire damage.
Malage launches a firebolt at the thrall trying to get up near Umgurn, striking it in the chest. He produces his flame blade in his hand and rushes to join Umgurn.
Case removes a potion of healing from his bag and drinks it. Bonus action uses Second Wind. Regains 7 hit points from potion and 8 hit points from Second Wind.
Feeling weary, Case pulls a potion of healing from his bag and drinks it, then takes a deep breath to gather a second wind, healing himself back to a focused state.
Umgurn casts Guiding Bolt at Thrall A, moves into melee with Thrall E, uses Channel Divinity, Turn the Tide. Rolls 26 critical for 31 radiant damage, rolls 9 hit points for Case and Peace.
Umgurn unfurls his fist towards the thrall attacking Peace while whispering holy words, causing a bright bolt of light to streak from his hand and engulf the creature. He rushes to face the fallen thrall as it tries to stand. Clutching his holy symbol, he channels divine energy which enshrouds Peace and Case with a healing surge.
Peace attacks Thrall A with Spear, two-handed, attacks Thrall E with Spear, thrown, moves into melee with Thrall E, rolls 24 for 8 piercing damage, rolls 20 for 6 piercing damage.
Peace clutches their spear with both hands and thrusts it into the thrall's throat, tearing it open. As Peace pulls the spear away, they turn and hurl the spear at the thrall in front of Umgurn, stabbing it in the side. As the spear penetrates the thrall, Peace moves over next to the creature, ready to strike.
Theophania moves up onto a table, casts Hunter's Mark on Thrall C, attacks Thrall C with 2 longbow attacks, attacks Thrall D with 2 longbow attacks, Boardbreaker. Rolls 3 and 29 critical for 18 piercing and 1 Hunter's Mark damage, rolls 16 and 18 for 1 hit for 9 piercing damage.
Theophania gallops over to one of the large tables and leaps onto it for better firing position from her bow. She notches an arrow, squeezes her bow, and a red halo appears over one of the thrall engaged with Case. She fires an arrow which misses wide, but she quickly fires a second arrow at the thrall next to it, catching it in the arm. She launches a second arrow at her marked thrall and it pierces the creature's eye, tearing through its skull. She fires her last arrow at the second thrall and buries it in its chest.
Thrall D attacks Fodinis with longsword twice, rolls 12 and 17 for misses.
With Theophania's arrows sticking out of it, one of the last thrall tries to take a swipe at Fodinis, but misses pathetically.
Varkidar moves back into the room, uses Mind Blast, 60-foot cone, DC 15 intelligence saving throw, targeting Malage, Theophania, and Enicel. Rolls 30 psychic damage, saving throws of 27, 16, and 22, 3 saves, no damage, no stun.
Varkidar reappears through the portal and his tentacles undulate straight out from his face. A cone of psychic energy erupts from him and engulfs Enicel, Theophania, and Malage. However, despite feeling the psychic energy wash over them, it seems to have no other effect.
Enicel casts Healing Word on Case, moves into melee with Thrall G, attacks with Scimitar. Rolls 14 hit points for Case, rolls 22 for 10 slashing damage and 3 radiant damage, 13 total.
Inacel again murmurs sacred druidic words to enshroud Case in a healing glow, then charges the thrall in front of her, slashing with her glowing scimitar into its chest.
Thrall E stands up, attacks Umgren with longsword twice, rolls 22 and 20, 2 hits for 20 slashing damage and 15 psychic damage.
The prone thrall stands, facing Umgren in peace. It slashes a longsword at Umgren, cutting deep into the paladin's chest. Umgren stumbles from the pain and mental anguish as the thrall cuts across his belly. Umgren screams.
Thrall G attacks Case with 2 longsword attacks, rolls 17 and 21, 1 hit for 8 slashing damage and 7 psychic damage.
The thrall directly in front of Case makes a half-hearted swing with its longsword, which bounces off the Case's forearm. The backswing of the blade cuts deeply across the man-lion's chest, and his head again explodes with pain.
Fodinis uses Iron Bands of Bolaro on Varkidar, ranged attack +7 versus AC 20. Bonus action Disengage, moves into melee with Varkidar. Rolls 21, Varkidar is restrained.
Fodinis removes the iron bands of Bolaro from his belt and hurls it at Varkidar, speaking the command word. The bands open widely, surround the Mind Flayer demon, and tightly bind to him, restraining him. Fodinis dodges adeptly away from the thrall nearest him and charges over to Varkidar with his swords drawn.
Malage moves into melee with Thrall E, attacks with Flame Blade, moves into melee with Varkidar. Rolls 19 for 9 fire damage.
Malage moves next to Umgren and brings his flaming blade down on the remaining thrall, slicing through its face and into its chest. The thrall falls, its clothing burning. Malage dashes away from the fallen husk and stands next to Fodinis by the restrained Mind Flayer.
Case attacks Thrall G with Spear twice, two-handed, attacks Thrall G with Dancing Longsword. Rolls 11 and 21 for 1 hit for 10 piercing damage, rolls 17 for 12 slashing damage.
Case grabs his spear with 2 hands and forces it into the thrall facing him twice, the second one piercing its armor deeply and passing through its chest. His longsword comes flying across the room and slashes the back of the thrall's neck, taking its head off.
Umgren casts Wrathful Spite, moves into melee with Varkidar, makes 1 scimitar attack, advantage. Rolls 22 for a hit for 12 slashing damage, wisdom saving throw of 26, saves.
Umgren charges towards Varkidar in his iron sphere, mumbling words of prayer and wrath. He slashes at the demon Mind Flayer, but the bands of iron deflect his first strike. His backhand strike finds flesh and cuts the creature, but it shows no fear of Umgren and laughs with its warbling tones.
Varkidar uses a legendary action, 1, casts Misty Step.
Varkidar is suddenly shimmering in a silver mist and vanishes from the iron bands, which shrink back into a small ball. Varkidar, having been restrained facing into the room, appears next to Theophania on the table.
Peace uses Wand of Magic Missiles, 6 charges, attacks Varkidar, moves into melee with him, rolls 34 damage.
Peace sees the Mind Flayer evaporate from the iron ball and appear next to Theophania. The feline brandishes their wand of magic missiles and unleashes 8 glowing darts at the demon, which slam into its chest and face. As the demon is bombarded, Peace runs to stand next to him, claws exposed.
Theophania moves her drift globe between herself and Varkidar, casts Daylight from the drift globe, moves 15 feet away from Varkidar. Varkidar gets Attack of Opportunity, disadvantage, Bright Light, rolls 8, critical fail, disadvantage on next attack.
As the Mind Flayer appears next to her, Theophania activates the daylight power of her drift globe directly between the Mind Flayer and herself, shutting her eyes and turning away. The extremely bright light blinds the Mind Flayer, and as Theophania runs away from him, he lashes out with his staff, missing the equine ranger.
Legendary action 2. Varkidar attempts to consume Brain of Thrall D, calling it forward. Thrall D moves towards Varkidar, Attack of Opportunity Case, rolls 13, miss. Brain is consumed, Varkidar at full health.
Blinded and disoriented, the Mind Flayer calls the last thrall to him to consume its brain. The thrall runs towards the Mind Flayer, deftly avoiding a stab from Case's sphere. It runs into the Mind Flayer's arms and its brain is consumed.
Varkidar regains 3 legendary actions. Varkidar attempts to recharge Mind Blast. Varkidar attacks Peace with tentacles, disadvantage. Intelligence saving throw DC 15 or stunned. Rolls 2, no Mind Blast recharge. Rolls 24 for a hit for 13 psychic damage. Peace is grappled. Saving throw 18. Peace is not stunned.
Varkidar, still somewhat blinded, lashes out at Peace with its lower jaw tentacles, bombarding the small feline with psychic energy. Despite the pain in their head, Peace remains conscious and alert. The tentacles wrap around the feline's head and neck.
Inicel moves into melee with Varkidar, casts Cure Wounds on Peace, 3rd level, rolls 18 hit points for Peace.
Inicel rushes to Peace's side, next to the Mind Flayer, who has them grappled, and lays her hands on the feline, healing it with druidic energy.
Fodinis moves into melee with Varkidar, makes 2 short sword attacks, advantage sneak, rolls 21 for 12 piercing damage and 12 sneak attack damage, rolls 27 for 4 piercing damage.
Fodinis dashes back across the room, flanks Inicel with Varkidar, and thrusts both of his short swords into the demon in quick succession, catching it in the chest twice.
Malage moves 25 feet, uses Wand of Lightning Bolts, 6 charges, Dex save DC 15. Rolls 46 lightning damage, saving throw Varkidar, disadvantage, 11, fails.
Malage strides quickly back across the room to get an appropriate angle on the demon Mind Flayer to hit the large creature but avoid Peace, brandishes his Wand of Lightning Bolts, and fires a massive bolt of energy at the Mind Flayer. Still blinded by the glowing globe, the bolt smashes into his chest and sends tendrils of blue electrical energy all across his body.
Case makes 2 spear attacks, two-handed, attacks with Dancing Longsword, rolls 21 and 28 for 22 piercing damage, rolls 24 for 8 slashing damage.
Case rushes towards the demon Mind Flayer, fearing for his feline friend, and stabs the beast twice in the side and belly with his spear. His magical longsword whizzes across the room and slashes at the Mind Flayer's head. The dancing longsword streaks towards Case and returns to his hand.
Umgren moves into melee with Varkidar, casts Compel Duel, DC 14 Wisdom, attacks with Scimitar, rolls 29, saves, rolls 19 for a miss.
Umgren joins the fray, speaking holy words to force Varkidar to attack him, but the words have no effect on the blue glistening creature. Umgren takes a swipe with his scimitar, but the Mind Flayer deflects it with his staff.
Peace makes 2 spear attacks, two-handed at Varkidar, rolls 26 and 26 for 18 piercing damage.
Peace, surrounded by the Mind Flayer's tentacles and able to see its nasty serrated jaws ready to consume their brain, grabs their family sphere with both hands and thrusts it as hard as they can into the Mind Flayer's chest twice. The first blow breaks through the skin and pours forth blood. The second thrust slides deep into the chest, up through the neck, and into the creature's brain. The tentacles release from Peace's head and neck, and the dead Mind Flayer falls to the floor.
The party receives 2,500 experience points each.
Fodinis, seeing the Mind Flayer fall, drops to his knees and begins sobbing. Peace removes their spear from the creature's chest and uses the sharp blade to cut the tentacles from the creature's face, placing them in front of Fodinis on the stone floor. Case picks the small feline up in both arms and holds them close to him, sobbing into their fur. The small feline purrs loudly and caresses the back of the man-lion's head. Inicel and Theophania speak in whispers to Umgren and then begin searching the room. Umgren, however, is distracted by the portal, which is still open and glowing with the light of Isvara. Malage grabs the paladin's hand and nods.
We must be quick, little one. Surveillance only.
With that, the two of them dash through the portal and quickly look around. They immediately realize that they are on a floating ship in the ocean as the salty sea air hits them in the face, carried on a cool ocean breeze. The deck is littered with boxes, crates, equipment, and bottles, all hastily laying around. Many of the crates are filled with bottles of liquid marked with symbols of flames. The bodies of several thralls, their heads torn open, lay on the deck. Umgren spins in a quick circle with his scimitar ready, but sees no one else on the deck. Malage rushes to the side of the ship and looks over. The ship is anchored in place, but there is no land around them, and the water is dark and very deep. Malage moves back to Umgren.
I know exactly what to do.
When Malage and Umgren return through the portal, everyone looks up, frightened.
We thought we'd lost you.
Peace smiles and pats Malage on the back.
We must be quick. We don't know how long this portal will last. Euphania, give me all of your dynamite. The rest of you strip these bodies of anything valuable and move the bodies through the portal.
Malage begins pulling his own dynamite from his bag. Within half an hour, the bodies of the thralls, the Mind Flayer, and the imposter are all laying on the deck of the ship. In the middle of the deck is a cargo port, which Case and Fodinis open. Through it, they can see clearly to the bottom of the ship. Malaysia lowers the bundle of 40 sticks of dynamite to the floor of the hold. In addition, Inicel and Theophania pour as many bottles as possible of the smelly liquid onto the deck and the bodies. Malaysia takes several long strips of wood that Case and Peace shaved off the deck and makes an unstable pile of sticks, wood, and liquids on top of the cargo hold port directly over the dynamite below. Once he is happy with the makeshift time bomb, he motions everyone to return through the portal. Fodinis looks around the basement, which is now empty as they have loaded the rest of the materials from all of the rooms onto the deck. The only thing that remains in the basement are the 4 racks of about 20 vials each of brightly colored glowing liquid. Malaysia, Umgurn, and Fodinis stand in front of the racks.
Umgurn. These memories were extracted by Varkidar. All of his notes and research is about to be destroyed. These memories are like a drug to the mind flayers. I think we should destroy them as well.
Malaysia picks up a vial and looks at it closely.
The mind flayers would pay enormous amounts of gold for these vials. We would be rich beyond our dreams. And now that Varkidar is gone, what else is there for me to be rich?
Fodinis picks up another vial and studies it. From across the room, Inicel yells to Malaysia loudly.
We have to hurry.
Malaysia looks and sees the edges of the portal beginning to shrink. Without thinking, he rushes to the opening, throws a ball of flame at the cargo hold, and watches as the pile of kindling and liquid ignite. After a few seconds, they drop through the cargo hold. Malaysia throws a few more balls of flame, and the deck ignites in a huge conflagration.
Take cover!
Everyone quickly moves away from the opening of the portal. Case and Fodinis knock the large tables over, and the party crouches behind them. In less than a minute, with the portal only an arm span in diameter, an enormous explosion erupts from below, and a ball of flames shoots into the basement. More collapsing sounds and snapping of wood is heard. The party walks closer to the portal, which is now less than 2 handspans in diameter. They can see the front of the ship dipping into the water as it begins to sink. The last thing the party sees before the keyhole-sized portal closes is the decks collapsing and its contents sinking into the deep Black Sea. Malaysia turns back to Fodinis and Umgurn standing in front of the racks.
I think it's best that we keep the vials and let Flayer decide what to do with them.
Malaysia bows deeply to the pair. Umgurn nods and Fodinis nods as well after a few seconds. Umgurn turns to the group, smiles, and taps his diamond earring. Within a few moments, he has sorted a way for the party to return to Pythilia within the hour with Kalia. With time on their hands, the party carefully studies the things they pulled from the bodies and searches the basement more thoroughly. In one of the rooms, Fodinis finds a secret door, which he easily disarms from a swinging blade trap. Inside is the secreted wealth of Varkidar, including a few magical items, some coins, and some exquisite pieces of art. Fodinis selects a pair of magical boots, which Malaysia says will make him very fast. Peace collects several pieces of written lore, including some unintelligible notes, a diary in a strange language, and a wedding invitation for a wedding that occurred recently, an old divination card, and many scraps of bad poetry. Inicel adds a few trinkets to her mesh net, including a rare seashell, a small idol, 2 rabbit's feet, and a strange key. There's also an ordinary whittling knife, which she adds to her wood-carving tools. 2 of the objects are orbs, one of brass etched with runes, and the other of ivory set with alexandrite, and Malaysia decides to add them to his collection of orbs. In the treasure of Varkidar, there is a special magical quiver that Theophania takes to replace her own. From Varkidar, they had removed a magical cloak of protection, which Malaysia decides to keep. Varkidar also wore a very powerful breastplate, which the party decides should go to Umgurn to lighten his armor requirements. Varkidar also carried a staff, which Malaysia determines is a staff of power, a very rare, very valuable, and very powerful object that, unfortunately, none of them can wield. They decide to give that to Kalia. The imposter was carrying 2 rare magical longswords, and Umgurn decides to switch to one of these weapons from his scimitar, as it is more powerful. Peace chooses the second longsword of the imposter. They also, with Inicel, searched the body of the imposter before moving it to the ship. Theophania assisted them, and they were able to determine that the creature was a changeling. Within the deep pocket of the imposter's coat, they found a note with details about a contract for a fire genasi's heart. Whether Varkidar killed Inakrin and ate her brain, or that was a trick to fool the Council of Elders, the imposter was either still Inakrin or some sort of ally. The lack of certainty is disheartening.
Inicel casts Scrying from Crystal Ball, DC 15 Wisdom save. Rolls 26 critical, minus familiarity. Saves.
Inicel removes her crystal ball and attempts to scry and connect with Innikrin, whom she knows well. She can feel, see, nor hear anything. Unsure if she is using the item correctly, she tries again on Callan, the escaped wizard from Hespa.
Inicel casts Scrying from Crystal Ball, DC 15 Wisdom save. Automatic fail, different plane of existence.
Inicel again feels, sees, nor hears anything. She smirks and hands the crystal ball to Malaysia to add to his collections of orbs.
I don't think this thing works, so best if you just keep it as a pretty item.
Malaysia nods and adds it to his bag.
All party members have reached 6th level. Fodinis chooses Expertise in Acrobatics and Stealth, receives Boots of Speed, 3rd attunement. Inicel adds a small idol, 2 rabbit's feet, a seashell, and a strange key to her net garment. Case chooses Feet, Piercer, and increases dexterity. Malaysia chooses new infusions, Replicate Magic Item, Wand Sheath, Pipes of Haunting, Gloves of Thievery, Returning Weapon, Enhanced Arcane Focus, receives Cloak of Protection. Umgren receives Breastplate +3, 2 potions of Supreme Healing, and a longsword +2. Inicel chooses Favored Enemy, Monstrosity, and Language, Giant. Peace chooses Kensei Weapon, Longsword. Theophania receives a Quiver of Ilona and chooses Monstrosities as a new Favored Enemy, and Desert as a new Natural Explorer. From liquidation of items, 25% retail value, and share of coins, each party member receives 1,132 platinum pieces.
Season 1 Epilogue. After the party returns to Pathilia, they get themselves sorted with their new loot and gold, including deciding to place a few things in storage at the manor house and add to their regular inventory of items. Fodinis places the vial of his bad memories laden with Mind Flayer poison in a special cabinet in his room next to a deck of vellum playing cards in a wooden box and a deck of tarot cards. A note from Woodshead informs Umgern that he has been replaced by several very talented people he actually recommended, and thus his duty to Woodshead is done. Umgren puts his double-bladed scimitar on the wall, hanging it from 2 hooks, and adds his old manacles to them, a symbol of his old life as a guard of Woodshead, unsure what he will do now. Theophania hides the enormous blue sapphire in her room inside of a small mahogany box that sits almost invisible on a small bookcase. With her new quiver, she stocks up on magical arrows, and she works with Malaysia to perfect the dynamite-laden arrows, including a special mechanism that ignites their fuse as she fires them. Inicel spends quite a bit of time working on healing potions when she is not exploring the forest outside of Pathilia and conversing with her animal friends. Malaysia spends a great deal of time with the Guild of Artificers and decides to change some of his magical infusions, which require training in gold. He also collects the Cloak of Displacement and the Alchemy Jug from Hadrian, but needs help from Fodinis to complete the payments for the items. They give the cloak to Theophania, and Malaysia keeps the alchemy jar. Malaysia also purchases a very fine hand axe, which he has etched with flames and runes to use with his new infusion of Returning Weapon. He also acquires a small pouch to hold his chips of obsidian and volcanic rock for tinkering, which matches his regular clothes, and one that matches his fire juggling outfit. In his room, Malaysia places the 5 orbs he has collected onto a shelf sitting on a little wooden ring so that he can admire them. The crystal ball that Inicel claims wasn't working intrigues him. He uses it one evening to cast Scrying spell and attempts to find Innikrin. Miraculously, he is suddenly aware of her and can see that she is in a large city. She walks past a window, and her reflection is that of a burly, long-haired, and bearded man carrying a drum. She moves into a tavern, and Malaysia can read the sign, the Spire Watch Inn. Inside, she begins performing. Malaysia keeps this information to himself. Kalia meets with the party shortly after their return and thanks them for the Staff of Power, which he adds to his wizarding trove. After sharing a complete account of the defeat of Varkidar and the disposition of his dangerous research, he asks them to take at least a couple of moon turns to rest and recover from the unfortunate and nearly fatal encounter with Varkidar.
You fought bravely and have removed a dire threat from our midst. We are all safe for now, though, but with any kingdom, there is always trouble brewing somewhere. After your rest, I'm sure there will be something pressing that needs your attention.
The king laughs heartily, and the party joins him half-heartedly. The party agrees to the rest and settles into a few routines, most of which do not overlap. Umgren accepts a role from the king as a high city investigator and spends much of his time studying crimes, investigating scenes, gathering data, and often making arrests. Fodinis spends quite a bit of time with Seraph Silverwind including helping her manage the great deal of property that she suddenly found she owned and improving the facilities and services for the street urchins. He spends much less time gambling than before, though he does frequent the caged matches if Case is competing. Case is given a fight at least once a week, but his prowess in the ring commands such high odds of success, his fights become almost exhibitions. Peace is almost always with Case when he is competing or when he is training publicly. Outside of that, Peace spends their time between the libraries of Pathilia and performing their poetry and prose live around various spots in the city. Peace sees several drafts of the history of the Blight as told through the many books and tombs they uncovered, but the work will take a very long time to complete. Malaysia spends most of his time with the Mind Flayers, exploring their bizarre library, as well as with the Artificers Guild, learning and training in the practice. He performs his fire juggling and other fire skills in the evenings because it brings him so much joy. Inicel and Theophania spend most of their days together in the forests around Pathilia. They even take a quinday to travel to the Great Swamp and visit with Inicel's parents, family, and friends, all of whom adore Theophania and her ranger prowess. During these forest explorations, Inicel can find no evidence of further Underdark eruptions, and Theophania finds nothing unusual tracking through the green, dense depths. Inicel wonders where they will go next. Thank you for visiting Engedrian. Don't forget to find us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for additional content, battle maps, and background details. We hope you're enjoying our adventure. We can't wait to hear what happens next.